Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of the AskIoT video series. I'm Ryan Chacon, and on today's episode, we are going to talk about enabling IoT with LoRa and mobile satellite services. And I'll have with me Telemaco Melia, the VP of EchoStar Mobile. They are a mobile satellite service provider. Fantastic conversation. I think we get a lot of value out of it. But if you're watching this on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already, and hit that bell icon so you get the latest episodes as soon as they are out. All right, on to the episode. Welcome, Telemaco. Thank you for taking some time to chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, great to have you. I wanted to kick this off by having you give a quick introduction about yourself and the company to our audience, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, sure. So hello, everybody. My name is Telemaco Melia. I'm responsible for EchoStar Mobile operations in Europe. A bit about myself and then about the organization I work for. I have a past in the telecom sector. I've been working for telecom manufacturers, and then for digital security companies. So I have a mix of telecom security background, and then a few years back I moved to EchoStar here in Europe, EchoStar Mobile, with the challenge of working on new and fresh ideas around satellite, and the past months and years have been really exciting for the industry, seeing the rise of these new new constellations, a lot of investments, a lot of things going on. So clearly that was the right move. Now about EchoStar Mobile. So EchoStar Mobile is the European branch of the EchoStar Group, headquartered in Denver, Colorado, US. In Europe, we own and operate a satellite in the S-band. S-band is a licensed spectrum in the 2.1 gigahertz, so close to LTE band 1. And our core business is offering mobile satellite services to a variety of verticals that require availability of connectivity in places where traditionally there is not much else than satellite, or for business that require reliability in terms of availability of connectivity.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting space to follow. I've spoken to a number of companies over the last couple of months about the satellite IoT space, what's happening in it. Before we kind of jump into the main topic today, what are some of the things that you've seen really propel the satellite space forward in terms of IoT? Like, what are some of the things that, like, how far have we, I guess, for our audience's sake, how far have we really come in enabling or making satellites be able to play a role in IoT?
I think is as usual is a mix of different variables that come together at the right time. So clearly, IoT has been fragmented for a while, and although they say that IoT market is exploding next year, in 2 years, 5 years from now, we're always the key problem is coverage. There is not much terrestrial network can do in covering 100% of the globe. And while terrestrial networks, for consumers are good because most of the population are located in urban areas, IoT is a different play. IoT really requires 100% coverage because often the assets are out in the nature in places where the mobile operators are not interested to deploy a base station. So that problem is a problem of today and will be a problem of tomorrow. And I think that's the main driver. And when you have this need, then there are also technology enhancements that were not there before. As you can see in the past years, there has been a lot of investment in what they call LEO constellations, the low Earth orbit, nano satellites. That has been shaking up an industry that has been managed by the usual suspects for many years.
Yeah.
And then there are new players coming to the game that bring technologies that work off the shelf over satellite as well. So the combination of these three things really generated a very positive traction in this sector,
Hmm.
uh, and giving options and opportunities that before were not
Right.
really there.
Yeah, for sure. So if we kind of move beyond kind of setting the stage of what's been happening in the space, just from an enablement standpoint, what really has been the biggest contributors to um, enablement in IoT regarding kind of satellite connectivity, as well as kind of, I guess, another way to say it is how are satellites really enabling IoT? I know there are other technologies like LoRa, and then like, obviously we're talking about the satellite piece now, but are coming together to play a role in that. But just kind of break down how satellites are really enabling IoT, and then also how LoRa is playing a role in other connectivity, maybe also jumping in to do that too.
Yeah, so satellite is clearly the only solution to provide 100% coverage, um, because that's the most cost-effective way of providing connectivity in places where it will be maybe technically viable, but commercially not really interesting to deploy a network to be used by few sensors. So satellite really respond to the fact that we can give better coverage, and we can connect devices where there is a low density
Hmm.
of assets. And this is a clear problem for IoT, because
Sure.
IoT is in urban areas, but many use cases for IoT are also in regions where there is very little population. Uh, the other enabler is the device side. So you mentioned LoRa. Um, One of the things that we have been seeing a lot is that if there is no ecosystem around devices that is really creating the, let's say, the end-to-end solution, connectivity alone cannot do much. So
Okay.
to me, it's really a combination of connectivity on one hand, and then availability of devices. And when I say devices, I don't mean the modem. I really mean the device itself, the application, and then the service in the backend that offers to the final customers visibility in what they need to monitor, for instance.
Hmm.
The combination of these two words coming together clearly generate opportunities that before were not there.
Yeah, and if you could elaborate on those opportunities and talk a little bit about what use cases you're kind of really seeing be driven forward based on the advances we've seen on the satellite IoT side, and then also mixing in more of the LoRa side, right? More of the terrestrial side. What would bringing those connectivities together enables even different opportunities and use cases to perform. Can you walk us through some of the ones that you've been involved in, just to kind of give our audience some context as to how this is actually being used in the real world to benefit the industry?
Yeah. So there are a few examples where really the use of satellite and, in addition, the use of LoRa are really creating new opportunities. So take as an example all infrastructure that are long and skinny. Could be railway, could be pipelines, could be infrastructures like motorways, where you need to monitor, hundreds or thousands of kilometers with sensors, but where really the density of the sensor is very low. Um, we got examples, for instance, in the railway industry where people had to monitor the rail track
Mm,
from flood and mud and temperature.
sure.
Flood because they need to make sure that there is no water going through the rails, and temperature because if it is really hot, and we saw it this summer in Europe with multiple heat waves, the railway are deformed, and therefore they had to stop the trains. Okay, which impact operations. So monitoring the temperature and the environmental conditions of the rail track is becoming an issue. And clearly, you cannot deploy a terrestrial network along the track side, because
Right.
if
Right.
Germany or Italy, you are talking about
Yep.
30,000 kilometers of rail.
Right. Right.
There are other environments where you need to have mobility support. So tracking is one good example. logistics, where you need to have a solution that can go from point A to point B without any problem. Now, in the terrestrial world, this has been solved with MVNOs and embedded SIM. Still is expensive.
Yes.
With LoRa, and especially the solution that we can bring with satellite, then you can have a single network spanning several countries or several continents with a
Yeah.
single operator. That creates a totally different dynamic.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think um, we've come a long way in being able to simplify connectivity and make it more seamless. But there's so many use cases out there that require continual connectivity, and if that is not met, the use case is not viable. There's no business case for it. The ROI is not there, and so forth. So, um, we've with being able to bring together satellite and even terrestrial at times to kind of complement each other and give you best of both worlds in the environments that they're most optimized for. It creates a lot of opportunity in the space that wasn't available before. Where where do you kind of see this going? Like, what does the evolution of this look like? Like, we have satellites out there that are being used. We're combining it with terrestrial networks to provide more continuous connectivity. But what does this kind of expand to? Like, where do you see this going? What can be done? I guess, what are the improvements and kind of upgrades to this? Just so if I'm listening to this and I'm like, okay, cool, this works, it's great, but where are we trying to get to? Like, what's the end goal here?
I think the end goal is to give customer options um, that can help them in solving the problems they are seeing. Um, the goal should not be I give you a proprietary solution, take it or leave it, which
Right.
has been what has been happening a bit in the past. The goal here is really to integrate satellite into existing ecosystem to augment them, not really to say you have to use technology in the silos. So the way you achieve that is from a technology standpoint, you need to work with standards.
Yep.
We mentioned LoRa, but 5G, NTN, the non-terrestrial network support is coming. These are clearly we see these technologies as enablers to augment the existing ecosystems.
Hmm.
And this technology have been traditionally in terrestrial, and now they are coming back. They are coming also on satellite, and this has the potential to create synergies that before didn't exist. So
Right.
to us, really, the end goal is to maximize these synergies, and people that are used to work on terrestrial should not see satellite as expensive or difficult to operate. So the
Okay.
goal is really to make sure that there is a smooth integration of satellite connectivity into the existing ecosystem, so that people can say, "Ah, cool, but it's not that difficult to integrate it. It's not that difficult to use it, or is even convenient for the use cases I need to work on." And that's how at EchoStar Mobile and EchoStar in general, we're looking at technology development to make sure that whatever we give in the hands of the customer is not a bulky device, is something
Mhm.
that is very close to what they are used to seeing in the terrestrial world.
Gotcha. Fantastic. So, let me ask you last thing before I let you go here. For our audience out there who wants to learn more about this, kind of dive into maybe what EchoStar Mobile is doing, follow up with any questions around this topic. What's the best way that they can do that?
Uh, so we have um, multiple ways. We have existing core business on mobile satellite services, which are very well known in the industry,
Hmm.
and we have new services on LoRa. Um, so for the traditional services, we have our website, social media, where people can engage and can come back to us. Um,
Right.
for LoRa, we have launched commercially a few weeks ago, but we are still running an early adopter program where
Okay.
we incentivize people to come to us, test the technology free of charge, and in exchange, we really just look for the use cases that people are working on, and make sure that we can market the use case, to replicate solutions
Right.
across
Right.
countries and continents. So If people are interested in learning more about satellite IoT and what we did with LoRa, really come back to us, and the engagement will be hands-on. We have technology that for these adopters is free of charge, and then you have the opportunity to be testing the technology in your use case. Because at the
Yeah.
end, satellite is great, but if it doesn't work in a
Right.
specific use case the customers are actually working on, is not
Right.
really valuable.
Fantastic. Okay. Great. Well, really appreciate your time. Great conversation. I think our audience is getting a lot of value out of it. So thank you again so much, and really appreciate it.
Thank you, and bye all.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching that episode of the Ask IoT video series. I hope you found a lot of value in it. If you did, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps others find it and make sure that you get the latest episodes as soon as they become available. Other than that, if you have any questions or topics that you would like us to cover in this series, please leave them in the comments or shoot us an email at hello@iotforall.com. Other than that, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.